Final update. My mom testified against me in court to try to get me to pay child support for a baby that wasn't mine. This was because, in her view, family is family, but months later, I finally revealed my ex-wife's disgusting truth. Now, my mom is mad because the entire family is distancing themselves from her. My own dad wants to divorce her. Part 2. I had been actively conspiring with my ex against me for months. When I confronted her with these emails, she claimed she was just trying to be supportive of my ex during a difficult time. Over the next few weeks, our extended family began to learn about everything: my mother's testimony, her conspiracy with my ex, and the revelation about my sister. The fallout was massive. Aunts, uncles, cousins, nearly everyone took my side, appalled by what my mother had done. My mother found herself increasingly isolated as family members distanced themselves from her. Holiday plans changed, invitations were withdrawn, and phone calls went unanswered. My father, who had stood by her for decades despite her affair, finally reached his breaking point. He called to say he was considering divorce, stating that watching her try to force me to pay for another man's child while lying under oath was something he couldn't forgive. Throughout all this, my ex continued trying to paint me as the villain. She had given birth by this point and occasionally sent me pictures of the baby with captions like "Look at the daughter you refuse to claim," or "She has your eyes," which was both manipulative and biologically impossible. I finally had enough. I compiled all the evidence of her affair: text messages, emails, even security footage from her home showing her bringing her coworker over when I was at work. I shared it all in a detailed post on social media, tagging mutual friends and family who had been taken in by her lies. I included screenshots of the paternity test results and court documents showing my mother's false testimony. I explained everything: how my ex tried to trap me into paying child support for her partner's baby, how my own mother lied under oath to support this scheme, and how I had been vilified simply for wanting the truth. The response was immediate and overwhelming. People who had believed my ex's version reached out to apologize. Friends I thought I'd lost reconnected with me. My ex's social media went private within hours, and I heard through mutual friends that she and her partner had a huge fight when he saw just how calculated her attempts to pin the baby on me had been. As for my mother, the public exposure of her actions was the final nail in the coffin of her reputation. My father moved out the following week and is staying with my uncle while figuring out next steps. He told me he's speaking with a divorce attorney and plans to file soon. The court case itself took more twists than I initially shared. After the first paternity test came back negative, my ex's attorney tried to argue that the test could be wrong and requested a second one from a different lab. The judge reluctantly agreed. The second test, of course, confirmed the first: I was not the father. But my ex wasn't done. She then tried to argue that under the state's presumed father law, I could still be held responsible since we were married when the baby was conceived. Her attorney cited cases where non-biological fathers had been ordered to pay child support due to this legal presumption. Thankfully, my attorney was prepared for this argument. He presented evidence showing we had been separated at the time of conception, including rental agreements for my temporary housing and testimonies from neighbors who confirmed I hadn't been living at our marital home. The judge finally dismissed the case with prejudice, meaning my ex couldn't bring it back to court. He also ordered her to pay my legal fees, citing the frivolous and vexatious nature of her claims. Given the clear timeline and 2 negative paternity tests, this was a significant relief, as the legal battle had already cost me over $15,000. My sister, upon learning she was the product of our mother's affair, decided to search for her biological father using a DNA testing service and some old photos and letters she found in her mother's belongings. She identified him: a man who had been my mother's coworker at her first job. He still lived in the same state, just a few hours away. She contacted him cautiously, unsure what to expect. His response was emotional. He had suspected she might be his daughter but had respected my mother's decision to stay with her husband. He had never married or had other children. They arranged to meet, and I went with her for support. Meeting this man was surreal. He looked so much like my sister that it was undeniable. They shared the same smile, the same laugh, even similar mannerisms. He expressed regret about the affair but joy at finally meeting his daughter. He also made it clear he didn't want to disrupt our lives or replace our father, who had raised her with love her entire life. My mother was livid when she learned about this meeting. She showed up at my apartment unannounced, yelling about how we were betraying the family by connecting with that man. I remained calm, pointing out the hypocrisy of her being angry about this while having expected me to raise another man's child without question. She had no response and left in tears. My father, despite the pain of revisiting this old wound, expressed support for my sister's decision to meet her biological father. He said knowing the truth and having questions answered was her right. His grace through this process only highlighted how petty and selfish my mother's behavior had been. As for my ex-wife, I heard her partner isn't thrilled about parenthood. He misses important appointments and is generally unreliable. My ex, desperate and struggling, actually reached out again, suggesting we could work things out for the sake of our family. I forwarded the message to my attorney, who sent a cease and desist letter. She threw away our marriage for this guy, tried to force me to pay for their child, and now that he's disappointing her, she wants to come back to the security I once provided. My sister and I have become closer through all this. We've been supporting each other through family therapy sessions, which has been healing for both of us. She's developed a relationship with her biological father, with clear boundaries that respect my dad's role in her life. My mother remains isolated, still unwilling to acknowledge what she did. She occasionally sends messages saying she misses her family and doesn't understand why everyone is being so harsh with her. Her inability to take responsibility continues to be the barrier to any reconciliation. I've somehow managed to keep my job and even received a promotion to general manager. I've started dating again, cautiously. My current girlfriend knows the whole story and has been incredibly supportive. It's been a hell of a journey. I've lost my marriage and my relationship with my mother, but I've gained clarity, strength, and deeper connections with the family members who stood by me. I'm still working with my therapist, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm on solid ground. I don't know what the future holds, but I know standing up for the truth was the right thing to do, and I won't apologize for that to my mother, my ex, or anyone else.